Good afternoon. This is Eric Christensen of the Tropical Analysis and Forecast branch of the National Hurricane Center with the latest Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing recorded Sunday, April 20th, 2025, and valid through Friday, April 25th, 2025. Bottom line up front, no gale warnings are in effect, but we do have fresh to strong winds and rough seas in most areas in the Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf through the early part of the week, but these will be diminishing through the middle and latter parts of the week. The dominant influences today are a 1,028 millibar high pressure area near Bermuda, a weak 1,018 low pressure area in the central Atlantic near 60 West, and the normal resident low pressure area off the coast of Colombia. This pattern is supporting fresh to strong northeast winds and moderate to rough seas across the western Atlantic south of the ridge and across the central and western Caribbean to include the Windward Passage and off Colombia, and fresh to strong southeast winds and rough seas into the central Gulf to include the southeast Gulf and the Straits of Florida. By tomorrow, the high pressure near Bermuda will have weakened, and the low pressure over the central Atlantic will have weakened into a trough. This pattern will allow winds and seas to start to diminish slightly across the region, otherwise little change. The high pressure weakens further Tuesday, with the areal extent of fresh to strong northeast winds shrinking over the central Atlantic. Note 8 to 10 foot seas, primarily in longer period northeast swell, will persist from the central Atlantic toward the southern Bahamas. Fresh to strong winds and rough seas will persist off Colombia, but overall winds and seas will continue to diminish across the Caribbean and the Gulf. By Wednesday, large northeast swell will persist over the Atlantic northeast of the Bahamas. Winds and seas will continue to diminish over the Caribbean. Expect fresh southeast winds across much of the Gulf between the Atlantic Ridge and lower pressure over Mexico, with rough seas in the central Gulf. Seas will slowly diminish across the Atlantic Thursday with little change elsewhere. Similarly, a few lingering seas to 8 feet to the northeast of the Bahamas on Friday and in the central Gulf, with moderate to fresh winds overall across the basin. Some swell farther to the east in the central tropical Atlantic, but otherwise little change. Summarizing, no gale warnings, but fresh to strong winds and rough seas in most areas through the early part of the week, diminishing through the middle and latter parts of the week. This has been the latest Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing. The next briefing will be issued by 5 p.m. Thursday, April 24th, 2025. You can always get the latest graphics and information at hurricanes.gov/marine.